Amy Lee. Welcome to my channel, and I'm gassed, so let's go. An uncomfortable phenomenon occurs when you reach a certain point in your life, which seems inevitable sort of on this planet that we live on and this time that we exist, where divorce seems sort of inevitable. And by I say sort of, I say stats is highly in favor of. It's one thing to lose your hopes and dreams and future that you had with a person. It's another to completely reorient your friend circle. An uncomfortable fact is when somebody goes through a divorce or a life change of some kind, sometimes even a marriage, having kids, and you don't really align with your social circle, you end up pushed out. I mean, it's for a bunch of reasons. Like, I get why people do it. It's nonetheless hurtful. People have built up an idea in their head of who you are with this person, and what your status in life is, what your lane is, how they define you, and what category you're in. It's not malicious. We all do that to a degree. This is my friend who lives downtown. This is my friend who's a vegan. This is my friend who is married. It's just how we break things down to categorize in our brain so that it's not just one big clump of people that are nameless and faceless. But when you go through a divorce, people are put in an uncomfortable situation of, how do I react? And it's uncomfortable because you're essentially asking people to choose a side. That's not what you're asking. That's not what you're implying. But because people feel uncomfortable because they know you as a certain individual with certain traits and certain characteristics, they now have to redefine who you are, and in turn their relationship with you. I'll say in my case, as is for plenty of other people, if you've gone on and you've been with somebody for a very long time, you not only have social friends, maybe you have kids and their friends and their parents, and it just becomes, after a time, this bubble of no one who ever knew you separate. And to ask people to then have, rather than John and Mary, suddenly react to John separately and Mary separately. Again, redefining the two categories. How do we act around this person? How do we act around that person? Particularly if it's a contentious end to the relationship. I've noticed in the beginning, people do step up, and they are, I want to say, either at their best to be there for someone you didn't expect, a B-list friend that steps up to squash everybody else out of the way in terms of their support and their advice. And there's the other category that I can only describe as the sensationalists. Those who are like, oh my God, let me know, I'm here for you 100%, I can't believe this has happened, what a shock. And they're there for you for a good 2 weeks. And then it's, call me anytime becomes, oh, I'm really busy this week. Maybe you're being annoying and leaning on someone too heavily. I try to not. I try to realize they are in fact doing me a favor by giving me time, and I should not squander that. But if somebody's still going to be there a month in, provided that you haven't wilded out on them, it kind of weeds out the field between those who are truly trying to be there for you and those people who just saw a fire, parked by the side of the road, and started to take pictures. Again, as you get older, what do you do? You're not constantly moving to new cities. I mean, I am, but not everybody can be as footloose and fancy free. Starting new jobs, putting yourself in new situations where you are surrounded by new people, new energy, the constant flow of newness as you would have if you were much younger. So then you're left with two options. Further whittling at this friend circle to figure out those who truly are there for you versus around, and then we'll tell somebody else your business. Nobody needs that. My business is hard enough without somebody else telephoning it down the line. So then what else do you do? Well, you find some new hobbies. You find some new bars to patronize. You go out for happy hour. You take up aerial fitness. And you build up new and fresh again. And I know it's exhausting and it's not your fault because let's be honest, you didn't fuck it up, he did. Why do you have to reorient your life? Why do you have to take on all these extra tasks? Believe you me, I get it. When my mother tried to explain her divorce to me as a teenager, you do the typical teenage thing. Mom, what do you know? My life is going to be drastically different. I understand that you were shunned in your circle as the single woman amongst all your married people friends. Obviously, nobody does that anymore. Silly. I'm the one. I'm the silly one. I get it from the evolutionary standpoint of everybody's coupled up and you're the only one that's left alone. And not only are you going to take a man, you're going to take every man in the vicinity tied down on the loose or otherwise. I don't know. I don't want any man. I just want a lot of cats, coffee, and really fancy cocktails in dark bars. That's what makes me happy. But it can also be really nice to go into a social circle where nobody knows you. And is it cool? Sometimes. Because if you take on a project, do ballet, do whatever, in some sort of thing that's sort of not even your lane, and if you burn out, you go, nobody knows. I feel maybe I am really spoiled by choosing to be social media free, where I deliberately choose that nobody knows my business. If you take up a hobby, if you go to a new place, and it blows, you leave, nobody knows. It's like it never happened, a fart in the wind. But if you do, congratulations. You're good at a new thing with new people who will hopefully have some sort of camaraderie and respect for you in this new arena, because you are no longer associated with that other sandbag holding you back. And all they know is you and your abilities, and you sink or fly based on your own merit. Can it be exhausting? Yes. I suggest a day planner. Not on your phone, not on your phone. A day planner where you have a max of 2 things you do per day. If that is work, you do work, and you do a class at night, a nice bar, a nice restaurant, that's it. Not a thing that you then do after. It's calm. Don't make yourself nuts. Expand slowly and intentionally, with the goal being unbothered and unbridled, so that you're not dragging how you should be feeling and you should be in a different place around. You're the new person in town, and if somebody doesn't like you for being too old for starting this new hobby or going to this new place alone, you don't know them. They don't matter to you. Brush it off. I'm a big fan of moving. I realize that that's not entirely feasible for the majority of people. Even if it's literally moving across town, sometimes you have to move on. I came across that in my hardship, and I realized that was 100% what I was doing. If my life is going to be upheaved, there are certain ways to make it your choice. You can choose to no longer live in that specific home. You can choose to no longer go to that same restaurant or bar where you will run into people that you know and don't wish to. Is it going to be awkward a couple of times to go out by yourself? Yeah. And that's kind of what this channel is going to be about, is to learn to be fine doing things alone and never be lonely doing them. Take it from me, I'm an only child. I'm a professional, lonely person with no shame and no regrets. It's still taken me some time to get over the mental hurdle of I should have this big group of people with me at all times. Why? Why do I think that? Media? Watching too much TV as a teenager and assuming that everybody's got this 8-group diverse a friend cluster with them at all times? Probably. But at some point, it's just really nice to be comfortable with the person that you're with the most of all, which is you. And that can be a really tough journey. And it can feel sort of rudderless, like you're on the high seas, being blown back and forth with no destination in sight. I get that. And I am here to hold your hand and be that shining star in the sky that gives you some direction of where you're going. Stick with me. It's going to be okay. I guarantee.